So rediscovering the gift of being a human person, I think we need that. We need to understand, again, the adequate anthropology that I was talking about before. A lot of what John Paul is doing in Theology of the Body is based on the fact that we don't understand what the blueprint was. We don't understand what it means to be male, what it means to be female. Humanity, what is it? What is the human person ultimately, right? And we know that it's created in the image and likeness of God. So this is my favorite painting ever, Michelangelo. You have it there. We don't have it in color. Sorry, that's version 2.0. We'll get there eventually. But beautiful image of the creation of man, right? Creation of Adam. God, in every aspect of Michelangelo's paintings, he's always doing some type of tension before action, right? So there's a tense moment and there's action. So the tense moment that we're seeing here is God the Father about to give life to Adam. Oh, watch that transition. Oh, man. Adam alone, right, in solitude. He's by himself. He's on this mountain, right, and it's kind of green and blue. You can't see it there, but before. It's the land and the sea. He's ruling the sea, right? He's ruling the land. He's on top of it. He has dominion over it. He is the pinnacle of creation, right? This is day 6. God has already created perfect man, right? The image and likeness. What Michelangelo was doing, he definitely took a lot from the Greeks, because Adam is he has a perfect body. It's completely muscular, it's toned. He took it from the Greek athletes, right? Like the ideal image of what man should be, right? No, there's not a lot of fat going on there, body fat or anything. Like he is a man, right? And what is that but the exterior is a reflection of the interior, right? Adam has not sinned. Adam has not fallen yet. He is a perfect human being. He is creating the image and likeness of God, and there is no tainting there. An important philosophical concept for us to kind of understand and know as we continue on is the fact that man is ontologically 3 things: good, true, and beautiful. And those are what's called transcendentals. And transcendentals are basically synonyms for God, right? There's more transcendentals, obviously, but what the doctors and the mystics of the church really hone in on are those 3: good, true, and beautiful. And ontologically, that word ontological, does anybody know what that means? Ontos is Greek, meaning being. Okay, so in his very being, he is those 3 things, right? He's good, he is true, he is beautiful, right? So if man, if I kill another person, am I still ontologically good? Yes, because in my being, I am good. I am created good, right? Animals aren't created with this type of goodness, this type of truth, this type of beauty, right? They can't comprehend it. They're not created for it, right? But man is, okay? So even if I were to kill someone, I'm still ontologically good, right? Morally, I'm bad. Morally, I got a lot to work on. But ontologically, in my very being as a human person, I am good, right? And the implications of that are huge, right? Creating the image and likeness of God, the implications of that are massive, right? There's so much that we can learn just by that aspect, right? Think of ISIS. Think of all the terrible things happening in the world. Ontologically good. Every single human person is ontologically good, right? How do we approach that? How do we approach that person that we see in the office? How do we approach our coworkers, our family members, our friends? Do we see them as good, true, beautiful, ontologically, the way God created them? Because if we do, wow, that's gonna help us to understand them better, right? That's gonna lead us to learn more about them, to try to help them more, to be more Christ-like, right? Because ultimately, that's the end goal, right? If we're talking about theology of the body, we're talking about the incarnation, because that's Christ, the theology in the body, right? That's Jesus Christ. That's the ultimate goal. We're going to talk more about that next week. But Adam can't be alone. He needs his maker, right? Man without God is not man. A lot of what we're doing here is getting everything has purpose, right? Everything has purpose. Everything has meaning. Nothing is flux. It's like the scriptures, you know? If we're creating the image and likeness of God, right? The scriptures is the word of God. Scriptures, there's nothing flux in it. Every word has weight, right? Every word means something. There's value in everything. Every story, nothing is just like, oh, you can skip over that. Like, Father, we don't need a homily on. Like, no, even the genealogy, like, has weight. It's important. There's a lot that goes into it, you know? So, well, if that's the case with the Word of God, how about the pinnacle of creation of God, right? The human person. there's weight, right? There's understanding, there's meaning. Another thing that we see here, so we have God the Father, and God the Father is kind of wrapped up in what a lot of people have said is like a mind. It's like the brain of God, right? To say that Eve, the woman, there's a woman that's created in this whole flux and this whole tension moment, right, of all these angels, and it's what is that resembling but heaven, right? All of heaven is looking in at this moment, right? Because this is the moment that they know that the first man is going to be created. Like, wow, this is huge. This is big news, right? And then Eve is there. Eve is present in the mind of God, right? Adam, obviously, he's representing all of humanity, okay? But at the same time, he does represent man, right? And here we see in Michelangelo's mystical thought, and the guy was just a complete genius. I mean, he terrible social skills, you know, couldn't really get along with a lot of people, but like brain, and just had a very intense, deep spiritual life. He suffered a lot, I think, and there's going to be another quote that we look in the very end of the presentation about Michelangelo's heart, which is really, I find it very interesting. But anyway, he creates Eve, right? And what's beautiful about this is you really don't know whether Adam is looking at God or looking at Eve, and vice versa. You don't know if Eve is looking at God or looking at Adam. And so what that's saying is that God is in the middle of their relationship, right? And a relationship is not going to last, especially a marriage, right? It's not going to last unless God is at the center. Is at the center of your relationship, right? And so that's what we're kind of seeing here. And then it doesn't end there. There is a third. Some say that is the new Adam. It's Christ himself. He's the only person, right, looking at the viewer, looking at us, right? And so he's in a sense saying that he's a part of this Trinitarian family, right? We very much see the Trinity here, right? And what that shows is that human love is a reflection of Trinitarian love, right? This human love that we're seeing with Adam and Eve, it brings into a third, right? Human love as a reflection of Trinitarian love. And John Paul would even call the Sistine Chapel a sanctuary to the theology of the body, right? Because we're learning more about this. We're learning more about the human person, right? And the human person ultimately fulfilled in Christ Jesus himself. Yeah. Okay, why a need for this rediscovery? Few things here. Don't need to go into all the details. Don't want to make anyone's night worse off, but I was thinking about Bruce Jenner during the Olympics, you know? Like, he's kind of, I don't know, I mean, Father's Day as well, you know, like he's throwing away this gift, right? And it's, why is he doing it? Well, it's very much of distorted image, right? There's not a proper view of the person. We know, we kind of talked about this already, that humanity, we're in a bad spot, right? Even look at politics, right? And our election coming up. It's scary, right? And we all can say that. But again, why is this course so important? Why is this need for the rediscovery, right? We already know it, but we need to understand it better. Why is it so important? Because of the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. This morning, I saw a guy cut off another person on the highway. And like, the guy's day is ruined. Like, based off what I saw of his reaction, like, poor guy. Like, I don't know if he's gonna come out. Like, it was just a cut off, you know? I mean, yeah, that's terrible. Like, you don't want anyone to do that. Like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But if it happens, it happens, you know? Like, welcome to Dallas traffic. But the guy, like, the way he reacted, and the fingers and the emotion, it's just like, oh, I feel bad for him, you know? So not according to the plan, right, of the divine image. How can we take on all the terrible things that happen to us during the day, right? How can we embrace it, turn it around, right, and make something good come out of it, right? All of this, we're looking at principles here, yeah? Okay. Next is a video that I want to show and really just hone in on the first part. There's kind of two parts to it. It's a trailer to the Human Experience. Has anybody seen that? Human Experience, documentary, excellent documentary by Grassroots Productions. Came out a few years ago, and I always show it to my students. Watch the documentary if you have a chance, but it's all about this idea, and I really want you to hone in on the beginning part and kind of the statements that come up about it, okay? Thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. It's good time.
Every human being who thinks about it is looking for meaning. They're looking for answers to the most elementary questions. Who am I? How did I get here? What am I supposed to do? Does it finally make any difference? Breathtaking reality, a new, unrepeatable, unprecedented adventure of a human life.
Wasn't that intense? I like the beginning. I mean, I think it kind of summarizes what I was trying to convey there with all the terrible things that are happening in the world, et cetera. One of the things I used to say to my students is, imagine that you speak to an alien and like they've never been to Earth. They're not human. They're something else, but they can understand you. How would you explain humanity? And it's like, and they would think about it and be like, how would you explain yourself? How would you explain life and what you do on a daily basis? And they're like, well, I guess we would have feelings. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we laugh, and that reflects joy, and then we're sad, and we cry, and we do all these things, and it's like, yeah, that's understanding what it means to be human, right? That's understanding, taking a step back, like leaving humanity for a little bit, doing the 30,000 feet view, right? Bird's eye view of us, which is God, right? That's what he does, right? He sees us in that way. He understands what it means to follow, to live appropriately, right? To live in the correct way. Okay, and that's, I think we need to do that every once in a while. We need to take a step back and look at our lives, and I mean, that's what a conscience exam is, right? It's always encouraged to do like a 10-minute conscience exam, 5-minute conscience exam. Think about the day before you go to bed, and it's like, how did I live this day, right? Was I human? Was I living according to the image and likeness of God, right? And when we say like what it means to be Christ-like, like, oh, be Christ-like, like be like Jesus, like your mom always said that, be like Jesus. And like, that's what we're talking about. Be human, just be human. And John Paul has a great quote where he says, humanity, become who you are. Feel free, by the way, like if there's a good quote or something, we're gonna read a lot of them. Grunt, get excited, like express yourself, feel free to express, it's fine, I would always do that with the students, and the boys took it away too much. And the girls would do it, and we'd just be like, please don't do that again. I'm kidding, but express yourself, It's good stuff. Become who you are, right? He would even go on to say, family, become who you are. And when John Paul, before he died, someone asked him, and we're going to talk a lot about John Paul next week, but if you were to be the pope of something, like if your papacy would be renowned as something, like what would it be? And he always said, I would love to be known as the pope of the family. And he very much is. He's a patron saint of families. right? Because he worked so hard for that. Like he understood family, basis of culture. If you don't get that right, you don't get anything right. But what's at the heart of the family is the couple. And what's at the heart of the couple? What we saw in Adam, right? The human person, right? If we get the human person right, male for male, man is for man, woman is for woman, okay, we're good to go. That's heaven, yeah? And that's going to be our last reflection at the end, right? We're going to just reflect on heaven. It's going to be great. Hang in there. But we got to go through some darkness before that, you know? And we'll get there too. Okay? Stay with me. We're not there yet. All right. If there's anything you take away from tonight, let it be this. To be human is to receive. If we're not receiving, we're not exercising our humanity properly, right? To the best of our ability. What we see in Martha and Mary, and we can't really go into it and talk and we got to move on. But we see two people, right? They're in prayer. They're in their morning meditation. They're in their afternoon. They're in adoration, right? They're in adoration. They're in front of Jesus, right? How do we pray, right? Are we the Martha? Hands are full. Look at that. Hands are full. Got the bread. Doing tons of thinking about what we're gonna have for dinner, like bread or whatever. I mean, are we like that, or are we or Mary, right? And even her receptivity, right? Her posture, right? What is that? But sitting. It's relaxing, right? What do we do when we go to Mass and Father speaks to us in the homily? We sit because it's a receptive posture. We sit and we relax. Father, talk to me. Come on, feed me. What did we just read there? What's going on here? Okay, I like that. All right, how can I be more human, Father? Talk to me, right? What is Mary saying? But teach me how to be human. You know, I always thought that Mary was the Mary Magdalene, and I don't think it is. But I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows. But someone told me that it's not, it's someone else. Anyway, I like to think it is, because imagine that girl's heart, right? The one who was totally broken, right? Prostitute, gave her life away. Man, did she need Jesus, and was she receptive? Yeah, she was receptive. You know, she was so ready for that message, right? She wasn't little. Receptivity, right? We need to sit, we need to relax, be in front of Jesus. I went to spiritual direction the other day with Father Edward Bentley, and I'm talking about my prayer life and all the amazing things I'm saying to Jesus in my prayer, and Father's like, Ryan, do you ever just sit and do you ever just let him love you? Do you ever just let him gaze on you, gaze on his creation? You're the pinnacle of his creation. Do you ever just let him adore you, his own creation? The glory of God's man fully alive. Let him glorify. Let him be in his glory. And just look at you. Well, no, Father, not lately, but we're going to work on that. And I've been trying to work on it, and it's hard. It's hard just to be love me. Go ahead. We're not like that usually. We're more let me tell you all these great things that are happening in my life, or just sit there while I think about my life, and please give me some inspiration, and I hope I leave this prayer time with better feelings, but just receptive, right? The famous story of the cure of Ars, right? Going up to this old man at the church there. He's always there, and he just sits there, and he doesn't do anything. He just sits, and he's looking at the tabernacle. And the cure of Ars, very holy man himself, mystic, approaches him and says, "What are you doing?" And the response was, "He looks at me, and I look at him." That's it. That's a good prayer, right? It's a good prayer. We're not, and this is something we'll look at, I think, in the third week on original man, is that it's human to pray. If someone's not praying, you're not living out your humanity. How could you? How could you live to the ideal image of of being happy, of being joyful, right? If you're not praying, right? If you're not in connection with God, yeah. From St. John Jose. Ours is a time of continual movement which leads to restlessness with the risk of doing for the sake of doing. We must resist this temptation by trying to be before trying to do, right? Our value is not in doing. Our worth is not in doing. But man, that's not what the world tells us. It's not at all what the world, it's all about, let me see the resume. What does the resume look like? All right, okay, well, you're hired, and if not, you're not hired. Of course, yeah, there's a practical element to it. It has to go that way. That's We need qualified. We need to work on ourselves. We need a lot of qualities, of course, but our value and how God sees us, right? He sees us as our beloved daughters and sons, like the beloved retreat that some of y'all went on, right? What's the whole purpose of the beloved retreat but to realize that you are loved, you are chosen by God, and that's all that matters. Because you're married, about to get married, we're excited, it's going to be awesome. But I know Chelsea's not going to satisfy me. My heart's too big. It is. And I know I'm not going to satisfy her. Lord knows I'm not. It's not going to happen. Her heart's too big. It's made for God. God has chosen us because there's going to be times where I'm not going to choose her. I'm always going to try. But it's not going to happen. Someone said, I think Father John Ricardo mentioned in a talk how he was handling a couple or his sister or something, and they said his sister and his brother-in-law, after they got married, he goes, love, like, there's going to be times where I'm going to hurt you. And it's not going to be my intention. I'm never going to want to hurt you, but it's going to happen. And just know I'm sorry and come to me, That's living with God at the center, right? And when we live with God in the center, we're being chosen, right? Our value is in who we are, not what we do, yeah? But God is constant. God is during your day. God is constantly trying to speak to us, right? He's trying to tell us things through people, through conversations, through events that happen in our life. He's constantly speaking, right? And that's what we mean by silence, right? When we live in silence, we're understanding God. We're living with God. Does that make sense? Right? Like God is part of our everyday life. It's not just a thing, right? That we have in the corner, a thing that we do on Sundays, a thing that we do in the morning, right? For our meditation or at night or whatever. But every single activity, God is present, yeah. That's pretty big. All of humanity's problems, yeah, that one too, all of them stem from not being able to sit quietly, right? Blaise Pascal, excellent philosopher. Mother Teresa would also say, gosh, I don't know if I can get this quote right. Silence begets faith, faith begets charity, charity begets service, and service begets peace. Yeah, and silence is praying, right? It's not like sleeping, it's praying. And then that leads to peace, right? What is every single human person longing for? Ultimately, it's not fun. It's really not. It's peace. I just want to be at peace. I want to be at peace with people around me. I want to be at peace with God. I want to be at peace with myself. I just want peace, right? It begins with sitting, right? Again, that posture of sitting, that posture of receptivity, quietly, right? In a room and sitting down. I have in the chapel here, one of the big reasons I took the job. I love working at Bread Choice, of course. But I love the chapel too. And we can go into the chapel afterwards and pray or something. But it's open, and every single morning I go in there and I have my books and I have my little chair and my kneeler, and I just you soak up in it. Do that. Go to the chapel and just get comfortable. Like, pitch your tent and get everything you need for a good prayer time. I got this book. I'm reading this. Got my journal, whatever, and just right. Breathe it in. Right. Soak it up. Sit. Receptive. Yeah. Enjoy it. It's fun. Saint Mother Teresa. It is certainly true that a saint is absolutely useless, as beauty and icons are useless, as God is useless, and yet God saves, and a saint enlightens and explains. This theophany is the only really serious thing in the world. Yeah, I love that idea of useless, right? A saint is useless. Like, beauty, it's useless. Like, it has no productivity. Like, artists, I think, understand that, Artists, musicians, it's like, what are you doing? Like, do something productive. No, they're doing a lot of productivity, right? By making beautiful art, yeah? Out of nothing, with a guitar, able to lift in our hearts and our spirits. Why does all of humanity and every culture since the beginning of time love music? It's been part of everyone's culture. It's just, it's in us. We need to be lifted up. Our spirits need to be lifted up to be beautified, right? Next part that we're going to get into is the sacramental vision. Very interesting concept. Again, when I went to the Way of Beauty course last summer, this was a big thing that I just, wow, I was like, this has to be on billboards. This has to be all over the place. This is one thing that we need to understand, we need to live, we need to dive deep into, and then preach it to the world and tell everybody about it. And starting with the kids, starting with like the youngins, the sacramental vision, right? And it's ultimately it's this. We're going to look at a quote from Fulton Sheen that explains it much better. But ultimately, the sacramental vision is, through creation, I come to understand something more about the Creator, right? Fulton Sheen, to materialists, okay, people who are just about material things, right? This world is opaque like a curtain. Nothing can be seen through it. A mountain is just a mountain, a sunset just a sunset. But to poets, artists, and saints, mystics, right? The world is transparent like a window pane. It tells of something beyond. Right? Like everything in the world, especially creation, right? Go to California, go up to the Northeast. Super therapeutic for Texans to see some mountains, Look at the mountains and just be in awe of them and wonder and see that beauty, right? And again, beauty, a transcendental, a synonym for God, right? I find that this is beautiful. You find that it's godly, right? I'm finding God in what is beautiful. Wow. And that's subjective, right? It's different for everybody. I'm a sucker for sunsets. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe more, sunrises, but it turns out to be sunsets for the most part. But sunrises, especially in the morning, like early in the morning when you wake up and no one's talked to you. Who talks to you at 6 o'clock in the morning? No, not a lot of disruption, right, with a phone or anything. It's just silence, and there it is, right? The sun's coming up, and I was driving to Mississippi the other day, headed east, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was waiting for her. Where is she? Rises in the east, sets in the west. So I was waiting for the sun, and I came, and I loved it, and I soaked it up. And great start for a retreat, little retreat, 6-hour retreat, in the car, contemplating, yeah. And I have a reflection about the sun, but I can't get into it right now. Maybe next time. It definitely correlates a lot to theology of the body, especially the triptych, right? Original man, historical man, eschatological man. After I did the Way of Beauty course and I fell in love with the sacramental vision concept, I went on a cruise with the family, and every morning woke up, where is she? Where is it? Finding the sunrise, seeing it come over, right? Finding God. Okay, what is it? What is it that you find beautiful? Subjective. Find out what is it in your heart that you just, I love this, and go there, go there, see it. Find God in that, right? Through creation, we come to learn something more about the Creator, right? About God Himself. Some leaves there? Wow. There's God in those leaves. Maybe not for me, but for somebody, yeah, that could tell of something, right? Could tell of God. Yeah? The sky, there's a sunrise or a sunset. Anything that is beautiful. Cool transition, no big deal. He who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. His eyes are closed. Albert Einstein, he got this. Brain, like genius, all about the math and equations and dude, get your head out of the books, like come look at, no, he saw creation. He saw creation for what it was, right? He wondered. A man who could explain a lot of things, but he wondered. On the cruise, at one point the captain got on the speakers and he said, just want to let you know we're 10,000 feet, like below us is 10,000 feet of water. We weren't 10,000 feet, we were on the surface, but below us was 10,000 feet of ocean. And I was like, oh my gosh, like wow, what is below me? Like what could possibly be going on? Tons of things. It's the ocean for crying out loud. And how about that? Like 70% of the world is ocean, it's water. Like, wow, I mean, fish and tons of things that we haven't even like conceptualized yet. We don't even know like all the creatures that are out there, I mean, and so what does that tell about the earth, right? About God? Wonder, everybody. You can't explore, you can't even breathe underwater. I want you to wonder about it. Don't try to figure it all out, and that's kind of a segment of the world, right, that which we live, where we're just not going to understand, we're not going to know everything, yeah? Or wonder, we have to wonder, right? Our eyes can't be closed. Little icicles for the northerns there. Little bug. Creation. The human touch. Faced with sacredness of life and of the human person and before the marvels of the universe, wonder is the only appropriate attitude. Right? A man who knew how to wonder. There's a great book called he was a poet. He wrote poetry. It's called the, anybody remember? I forgot.
The triptych?
The triptych?
That's lost poetry?
Yeah, the triptych, I think. Mystic, like you read that and you're just like, it's an addition to the Song of Songs. Put it up there. I mean, it's not sacred scripture or anything, but a saint, and he just knew how to wonder, right? The human touch, yeah? We're entering into humanity there. Do you see it? Do you see the baby? Right? Let everybody see it, right? Like eyes up there, nose. Yeah. If you don't see it, person next to you can help you out. How awesome. Wow. Ooh, I like this picture. I saw it a long time ago, and I remembered it. And good example for the sacramental vision, right? In a tree, no, I'm seeing more than that, right? And it's a couple, yeah? And they're kind of looking out. Maybe she's pregnant, right? That's on their mind. I don't know. But there he is. Oh, baby. Appropriate for birth choice. Huh? I think that's actually at the Theology Body Institute, if you've ever been. It's like the cornfields. It's like Amish land up there, but it's so remote, very isolated, right? Good place for retreat. More pictures there of the image. Job versus Volcano. Terrible movie, if you've ever seen it. Wouldn't recommend it at all, but interesting quote from Meg Ryan, who plays Patricia. My father says this is Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. My father says the whole world is asleep. Everybody you see, everybody you talk to. He says there are only a handful of people who are truly awake, and they live in a state of constant, total amazement. Yeah? There's only a handful of people who are awake. Drive around. Leave from here today and look at the people driving. Are they awake? I don't know. I don't think a lot of people are awake in this understanding, right? What does it mean to be awake? Yeah, living in constant, total amazement. So another scene in this movie is Tom Hanks. He's Joe versus Volcano, right? So like ordinary Joe Schmo, like living his mundane life, super like boring, as Peter Craiff would say, living in the ennui, which is like boredom of like just day-to-day life and no meaning, right? What Father John Newhouse was talking about in the trailer, right, of the trailer that we saw, the clip, that was Father John Newhouse, I think, speaking about the existential questions. Who am I? What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to live this life? What am I doing, right? And so here's Joe, and he's so depressed, and he goes to the doctor, and he's like, doctor, figure me out, like something's wrong, and I don't know what it is, like I'm just lost, like help me. And the doctor does an examination, and he's like, you have a brain cloud. And he's like, a brain cloud, I knew it, I knew I had a brain cloud. And we're left wondering, like, what the heck is a brain cloud? But the doctor says you have 6 months to live. And he's like, I knew it, I didn't know it, but I knew it, the brain cloud, gosh, of course. And he leaves the doctor's office, and the same path that he's taken a million times, he's walking along, and he sees a dandelion. And he like goes down to the dandelion, and he lifts it up, and he looks at it, and he's seen this dandelion before a million times, and I think it's already been stepped on by somebody, and he picks it up, and dandelion. And he wonders at this dandelion, and from then on, like the rest of the movie, he's going through his day with new eyes, new vision, right? New lenses, and he's seeing this sacramental vision, right? The dandelion, wow. Things mean something. What does this mean? This is telling me of something greater than myself, yeah? Still a terrible movie. You've probably seen this video. I'm just gonna play it. I watched it for the first time. This is like 2003.
Whoa, that's a full rainbow. All the way. Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way. Whoa, that's so intense. Whoa, man. Wow. Whoa.
Bad quality, sorry.
Whoa. Whoa! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Woo! look at that. It's starting to even look like a triple rainbow. Oh my God, it's full on double rainbow all the way across the sky. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh God. What does this mean?
All right, that's what I wanted to get to. What does this mean? Wow. Like the guy's as high as a kite, without a doubt, for sure. He's by himself in like some mountain range, and he sees this rainbow and like goes nuts. But at the same time, like I think he made a comment on it, because I looked up this video, and I think on YouTube, tons of people, like this thing went viral. I don't know, 2003 or something, and he comments on it again. And he's like, guys, I was very serious. Like, that was a very special day for me when I saw that double rainbow. Like, I'll never forget that day in my life when I saw it at that mountain range and whatever. And but it does say something. Like, the guy is just in love with creation and with the rainbow, particularly, right? Like the rainbow that has freaking been robbed from us, by the way, because that's ours. Like, we need to reclaim the rainbow because it's biblical. And it means something, and that's a symbol of an oath that God gave to Noah, and it's been totally like snagged. If you think about it, right? Like, why did you take our rainbow? And no, it doesn't belong to that. That is not the concept. That is not from God. The original plan of the Creator did not have that in mind for the rainbow. The rainbow is something very beautiful and awesome, and we should get just as excited as this guy. What does this mean? Okay, Peter Crave, amazed or dazed? That guy might have been dazed, but I think he was amazed as well. If we are typically modern, we live in ennui. That's that boredom I was talking about before, right? The Joe Schmo. We're bored, jaded, cynical, flat, and burnt out. If we were not so bored and empty, and it's hard to see here, let me read it. We would not have to stimulate ourselves with increasing dosages of sex and violence, or just constant busyness. He continues. Here we are in the most fantastic fun and games factory ever invented, 2016. Modern technological society, and we are bored like a spoiled rich kid in a mansion surrounded by 1,000 expensive toys. New iPad 7's coming out, iPhone 7. It's waterproof. You can put it in the shower. Like, you can have it in the shower, and it's going to be fine. I think it can only go under like a foot or something in water, so don't drop it in the pool, but it's coming out, modern technology. Okay, and we are bored. Like a spoiled rich kid. Medieval people, by comparison, were like peasants in toilless hovels, and they were fascinated, right? The ancients, they used to be able to memorize like the Aeneid and the Iliad, like huge books, and they would memorize word for word. And they would repeat it and talk about it over campfires, like, I could barely memorize this quote. Got a TV to do a lot of entertainment for us now. And it's true, like, guilty of it. I'm guilty. We're all guilty of this. We live in this age. And and it's interesting, when this is poised to us, right, it kind of puts us in check. How do we live, right? Is it possible to live like that, right? Is it possible to live like Adam in the garden? Yeah? I think there's one more. Occasions for awe and wonder seem to abound. Birth and death and love and light and darkness and wind and sea and fire and sunrise and star and tree and bird and human mind and God and heaven. Right? Transcendentals. Beauty. Beauty. Goodness. Truth. Yeah? Synonyms for God, right? Through creation, we learned something more about the Creator. Yeah? But all these things have not changed. We have. The universe has not become empty, and we full. It has remained full, and we have become empty. I'm drawing a blank on this guy. What's his name?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. Thank you. Louis C.K. I don't know if you've seen this one from Conan O'Brien. Excellent. I hope it's a good image. But speaking about our culture, right? He's kind of a comedian. He's pretty crude, but this is a really he kind of hits the nail on the head when he talks about kind of this concept that we're trying to develop.
Yeah, those were simpler times, I think. I just feel like we may be going back to that, by the way. But in a way, good, because when I read things like the foundations of capitalism are shattering, I'm like, maybe we need that. Maybe we need some time where we're walking around with a donkey with pots clanging on the sides.
You think that would just bring us back to reality?
Yeah, because everything is amazing right now, and nobody's happy. Like, in my lifetime, the changes in the world have been incredible. When I was a kid, we had a rotary phone. We had a phone that you had to stand next to, and you had to dial it.
Yes.
You realize how primitive? You're making sparks in a phone, and you actually would hate people with zeros in their numbers because it was more like, oh, this guy's got 2 zeros. Screw that guy. Why do I want to? And then if they called and you weren't home, the phone would just ring lonely by itself. And then if you wanted money, you had to go in the bank for when it was open for like 3 hours. You had to stay in line, write yourself a check like an idiot. And then when you ran out of money, you just go, well, I can't do any more things now.
Right.
I can't do any more things.
That's it, yeah.
That was it. And even if you had a credit card, the guy would go, ugh, and he'd bring out this whole shunk, and he'd write, he'd have to call the president to see if you had any money. And
it's all true, kids. You had to call the president, yeah. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
Do you feel that we now, in the 21st century, we take technology for granted?
Well, yeah, because now we live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots that don't care, because this is what people are like now. They got their phone, and they're like, it won't. Give it a second. It's going to space. Can you give it a second to get back from space? Is the speed of light too slow? I was on an airplane, and there was internet, high-speed internet on the airplane. That's the newest thing that I know exists. And I'm sitting on the plane, and they go, open up your laptop, you can go on the internet. And it's fast, and I'm watching YouTube clips. I'm in an airplane. And then it breaks down, and they apologize, the internet's not working. The guy next to me goes, this is bull. Like, how quickly the world owes him something he knew existed only 10 seconds ago.
Right.
And on planes, flying is the worst one, because people come back from flights and they tell you their story. And it's like a horror story. They act like their flight was like a cattle car in the 40s in Germany. That's how bad they make it sound.
Right.
They're like, it was the worst day of my life. First of all, we didn't board for 20 minutes. Right. And then we get on the plane, and they made us sit there on the runway for 40 minutes. We had to sit there. Oh, really? What happened next? Did you fly through the air incredibly like a bird? Did you partake in the miracle of human flight, you non-contributing zero? That you guys are flying? You're flying! It's amazing. Everybody on every plane should just constantly be going, oh my God! Wow!
Yes!
You're flying. You're sitting in a chair in the sky.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Louis,
But it doesn't go back a lot. And it's not really. You know, here's the thing. People they say there's delays on flights.
Yeah.
Delays, really? New York to California in 5 hours. That used to take 30 years to do that. And a bunch of you would die on the way there and have a baby. You'd be a whole different group of people by the time you got there. Now you watch a movie and you take a dump and you're home.
Yeah. Well, nicer way to say it than that, but yes.
No.
Gosh. Sorry, that quality was really bad. Forgive me, Kian. Need to work on that. Anyway, Louis C.K. kind of hits the nail on the head as far as what we're talking about here. Real artwork, by the way, 2016. There it is. Social network, right? Everybody, Chelsea's set for life being a PT with all the neck problems that we're going to have pretty soon with everybody bent over, yeah? And Louis C.K. was kind of hitting on that, right? Distraction is the only thing that consoles us from our miseries, and yet it is itself the greatest of our miseries. Right? We've got to be distracted, always distracted. And it's hard, and I'm guilty of this just as much. And again, like technology, we're kind of going to get into it in a minute here. Nothing bad, right? Anything that's good is a double-edged sword. Like it can be used to wound or it can be used to heal. I mean, exalt it to marriage even. Marriage, I mean, it can be used to wound or to heal, right? Divorce would definitely wound, yeah? Marriage heals, right? Right? Everything that's good, okay? Technology's up there, right? It can wound or it can heal. How do we use it, right? Is it a constant distraction? And I'm always like, we just got to be in check for this type of stuff, because in this day and age, it's a new thing, right? 5, 6, 7 years ago, like smartphones weren't that common. You know, it's only been an apparent thing. So I think it's good to, again, like take another step back and see where is humanity right now? What are the new popular things that everybody is doing? Is it healthy? Is it safe? How much am I falling into it? And is it appropriate, right? Am I using it for good? Am I using it to heal, right? Am I, right? And how I use it and how I obtain it, etc. Yeah? Hope I didn't hit any, I saw that recently. I don't know if anybody's like, I don't think that's really like our generation. I think it's like, I don't know. It's definitely a millennial generation. The Pokemon thing and the Pokemon Go thing. I don't know if anybody's into that. Sorry if I hit you in the heart there. But